I am Vinnie Totterich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. You got to run on heavy, heavy fuel. That's what we talk about in this podcast. Eating fat to lose fat. And we're going to get into that in just a second. But first, we need to bring in the beautiful Mr. Chris Schaffer. Yeah. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. I'm personally over here channeling System of a Down, right? Get up, or get up, come on, get down with the sickness.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm doing all right. It's good to start with a little bit of Dire Straits. And Vinny, it's funny that you're talking about heavy fuel, or that you brought that up, because you don't know exactly what we're going to talk about today. But it's definitely not eating lettuce as a way to lose weight. That's definitely not what we're talking about.
Chris, why are you cutting in and out? Is that just on me or is that on you? Check your mic.
Don't know. It doesn't look like it's cutting out on my side.
Now it's sounding better, of course, when I bring it up. So the reason I did that radio open, the K, I like it, KSNG, KNSNG. I can't even say it right.
Well, technically you're in Virginia now, right? So it should be
W.
Because you're east of the Mississippi.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people don't know that, right?
Useless facts from Chris Schaefer today.
That's right.
In case you were ever wondering why radio call signs are different across the country, east of the Mississippi, it's W, and west of the Mississippi, it's K.
That's right.
Who knew?
Except for some stations that got changed at some point, they kept their call letters when they went from one side of the country to the other, right? Most people don't know that. There's one or two where it's famously a K when it should be a W, or the other way around. And I'm gonna have
Kiss FM would be one, because they bought stations around the country, I think, and kept the same call sign.
Yeah, so it's something like that where they were able to do it. By the way, the reason we did that was a couple of reasons. Someone on Twitter, I was just doing my exes. Is it called X's?
I think they still call them tweets, but it's X or posts.
Yeah.
You were posting on X.
So I was on X doing tweets. It's confusing as hell. And this person, L, just the letter L, at 113-455-4321Q.
Definitely a human being and not a bot.
Well, he couldn't be a bot, or she, or it, or they could not be a bot, because they said, hey, you play a lot of Dire Straits on your show, which means they listen to the show, but I've never heard Heavy Fuel by Dire Straits. And oddly enough, I did that song a bunch early in the show because it kind of made sense to do it with the show. And there's a long lead in where you can say extra stuff. And then someone else said, hey, how about you do some of this or do that and then they started saying, hey, it could be like a radio station. And Kurt, our friend Kurt Lapierre, said, hey, it could be KNSNG. And I went, I kind of like that. So that was only 5 minutes ago. So I was able to remember KNSNG radio. And I remembered the song Heavy, Heavy Fuel. And I added in the part, I'll take you from where you are to where you want to be. Because you know, that's what you had to do in radio back in the day. You had to come up with the whole thing.
That's great.
Well, Chris, we better use that. I'll take you from where you are to where you want to be.
Yeah.
Can I make that one of my things?
I think we should. Or like taking you, right? So it's a little more active. KNSNG. Take where you are, where you want to be.
Yeah.
I like it.
Chris, speaking of X, so I'm going to just be, I'm always upfront with the audience, right? I'm always trying to get free information out there. That's what this podcast is, free information, right? And, at some point I got on Facebook way back when, We have a Facebook group. It's a huge group, 30 some odd thousand people in it, right? And there's another product out there by another one. So there's
now,
another product.
now Vinny's channeling DJ Khaled over here.
Yeah. So Meta also owns Instagram. So I said, hey, I could get out more information by going on to Instagram. And the story. I went on Instagram and immediately I went from 0 to like 25,000 seemingly overnight, and then to 50,000 over another night. Well, let's say this, it happened fairly quickly. Somewhere around 60 or 70,000, it stopped dry. Right. And every inch of ground that I was covering, like I would have a post that would get 40, 50, 60,000 hits, but nobody, as many people that we would see the number of people coming in, they would take that many people away. They wouldn't allow my Meta accounts to grow. Right. And I was wondering what that was all about. You actually talked to friends at some point. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'll let you talk about it. And you said that they said, yeah, they looked into my thing. They have me locked down. Is that, you want to add in here, Chris?
Yeah, I have, I grew up, I should say, in the tech space. Right? My first few jobs were in the tech industry. And so I have some friends that work at different organizations, and I have some contacts that work at different organizations, and I had them take a look. And it just like, Vinny, do you remember a few years ago when all of the right-wing Facebook pages found out that there was a tag that could be applied to diminish their reach? Right? Like
No.
Ben Shapiro's and the Steven Crowders, they all found out that there was some sort of like a tag that could be applied, and it had to be manually applied by somebody. So if they just didn't like what you had to say, they could go in and apply a specific tag.
I had no idea.
Back end. Yeah. So it's, shenanigans like that. And supposedly it was going to get more transparent, and it still doesn't appear to have changed at all if you're talking about things that don't go with the mainstream narrative. Let's put it that way.
Well, in fact, I'm not a political figure, which is, I don't understand. I'm not on the right or the left. I'm agnostic or atheist about any of political views, right? But I guess, for whatever reason, someone doesn't like what I'm talking about. So I'm tagged as one of these people. And we started noticing every time I got to like 97,000 or 98,000, right when I got to 100,000, they would start cracking me back all the way down to like 92 or 93,000. And then I would, I always felt like the ugly guy trying to get a date with the prom queen, right? Like begging. Oh, come on, please go out with me. Please, come on, make me a cool kid. And one day I was like, what? I'm trying to help people, and I'm trying to comply with everything Meta wants someone to comply with. But they decided, I guess, because I put up movies like Fat, a documentary that tells the truth, or Fat 2 that tells the truth, or Beyond Impossible, they decided that I was a pariah. Fine. I'm not going to play with you anymore. I still have my Chris, where's my numbers right now? I haven't looked at Instagram in probably a month or 2 months.
It's around 97.
Okay, yeah. So whether I post or not, it stays right there now, right? If I could get 100,000 people agreeing to a post I put up tomorrow, it won't change, right? It just won't change. So my thing is, I'm trying to get information out to people to help them. I don't make a living off of that, right? I'm just doing this to help people. Yet they won't allow me to help people. Isn't that weird? Right? It's a strange thing. So
it is if you think about it logically. It's not if you think about it from an Orwellian standpoint, right? And I think that part of this is an artifact of the last, 8 or 9 years, right? Basically since 2016. So I guess almost 10 years at this point. where Facebook got hauled in front of Congress and they said, how dare you let people buy ads on your platform? Because it clearly influenced the election, even though the entire country of Russia spent less money on Facebook ads than like 1 week of Hillary Clinton, right? Or of Donald Trump, for that matter. But they really started cracking down on anything that was suspect or that they considered to be borderline, because they didn't want to get hauled in front of Congress again. And you can see the same thing. I know you don't watch a lot of like Mark Zuckerberg interviews, but the last time he was on Joe Rogan, I think it was, he opened up a little bit about it. And it's kind of interesting to hear, they're just playing defense. They don't want to lose their position. And so they don't want to give anybody an excuse to say, oh my God, you're showing mis or disinformation, which again, who determines what that is, right? And they moved away from free speech and cream rises to the top to, no, this is what this organization says. And if this is not exactly what you're saying, we're going to punish you for it. YouTube, same way. Google, same way, right? All of the big tech companies, for the most part, were doing that. Some have pulled back more than others. Facebook, Instagram, Meta doesn't seem to have changed at all, at least at this point.
Right. Well, I kept hearing, oh, they're going to change and they're going to open it up for people like me, guys like me that were being punished for for reasons that were never explained to me. One time, just to give the audience an idea, one time Facebook wrote to me and said, we have a private group on Facebook. It's a private group. And they said that we saw hate speech in your private group. And if we see this again, we're gonna just make this group go away. And I was like, oh my God, hate speech on my it's got my name on it, Vinnie Charteridge's No Sugars, No Grains. I'm like, is hate speech in my group? So I said, please, Meta, show me the hate speech so that I can jump on this immediately. Chris, stop me if I'm lying. The hate speech I used was the words, I didn't use them, someone else said it in one of my groups. Bacon fat. Wasn't applying that to anyone. All they said was, I like to render bacon fat and reuse it. And they called that hate speech. Okay. I get it. You got some bot out there that finds the word fat and they think fat is a hate. I get it. But won't you look at it? Isn't a real person looking at this before they send the message? They just send it out and go, hey, bacon fat, we consider that hate speech, and that's it. Chris, am I lying about the bacon fat thing?
No. And so Vinny, you said, isn't a person looking at this? The answer is typically no. And you may remember a few years ago, I was in Panama for a month while I was waiting on my visa. And we had some issues with the Facebook advertising team because someone flagged one of our ads. And they said, oh my God, this violates all of our policies. Which policy? Oh, we can't tell you which policy, because if we tell you which policy it violates, then you can just get around it the next time. Okay. So a person didn't actually look at this and determine, no. The system says that it violated the policy. And then if you appeal it, it goes to a person. But it goes to a non-native English speaker in most cases. And so if you have something where it says fat, right, and they're using Google Translate or whatever, and it says fat in Hindi or it says fat in Spanish or whatever, they go, here's the list of words, here's what it says it is. Well, it's blocked because of that, so you're definitely saying things that are hate speech.
Right.
Like, did you understand the context? Because bacon fat, you can call me, Vinny, you can call me bacon fat. That will not insult me in any way.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, I'm delicious. I'll take it.
Right. And so, we're dealing with this bizarro world. So I decided, okay, which platform is not going to come after me? And so far we've found two. One of them I'm not very active on, but we're going to start becoming active. Basically, we're going to take the same stuff that was on Meta, because I own it. Meta doesn't own it. And we're putting it up other places. So I'm putting stuff up on X. All of the videos that I had that had 50,000 or more followers or people commenting on, we're putting those up on X. Now, I have some of the same fans on X that I have on Instagram, right? It would make sense. These people are commenting because they're seeing these things for the first time. Meta wasn't even showing it to the people who are following me. Is that the craziest thing you've ever heard? They won't even show it to people who want to see my information. People are going, oh my God, I love these motivational videos you're doing, these shorts. You keep doing them. It's like, I don't have to do another one for the next 3 or 4 years because we got what, 2,000 of them, Chris? How many do we have? I put up at least 1,500.
I mean, it was, yeah, I mean, you did one a day for 3 years, plus the other ones that went up along the way. So a couple thousand.
Yeah, got a couple of thousand. People are going, I'm glad you're doing these now. Oh, no. I've been doing them. You just didn't get to see them because, go on.
The irony to me is that you change looks dramatically in every video. So the people who are watching it on a daily basis just think you have a magic beard or sometimes don't. Right?
Yeah. That's the thing. Sometimes I have a beard. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I, sometimes it's wintertime. Sometimes it's summertime. It's, because if I was outside doing it in the winter, I have a coat on and a beard. If I'm doing it in the summer, I'm in t-shirt and shorts and usually clean shaven. So yeah, every day you're seeing something different and I'm different. Right. So yeah, folks, and by the way, the other place, did we start putting them up on TikTok yet?
Yep.
Okay. So they're going up on TikTok also. And I don't think, I don't even have 1,000 people on TikTok yet, right? We just started that.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It was just under 1,000, I think, yesterday when we were looking at it.
Yeah, so we're going to start putting things where, and people, and look, I get it. Some people, I hate Elon Musk and all this kind of stuff. And look, again, I know he's a political figure now. And I get that people are saying Elon Musk is dumb, the stupidest man on the planet. I don't know anyone else who can send a rocket into space, have it come back down and catch it with chopsticks. Okay. So I don't think he's that dumb. So I don't know anything else about Elon. I don't know, I don't follow what's going on politically. I don't care. That's not my thing. Right. But I do know that this man has a platform that's allowing me to do something that was granted in my First Amendment, the right to free speech, the right to say things. Okay, he's got a site. And TikTok, as far as we can tell, TikTok is the same way. Go on, Chris.
Can you explain to me how it's possible that a Chinese app has a higher level of freedom of speech than the major American ones?
Exactly.
I mean, we probably can't talk about Tiananmen Square, but outside of that,
right, they
at least seem to be putting the content in front of the people who want to see it, which is the entire point of the algorithm to begin with, right?
Well, look, I was promised when the World Wide Web came along, and I got my first computer way back when in the 90s. Oh, Vinnie, this is going to be the information superhighway. That's what it was being called, the information superhighway. So a guy like me went, oh, wait a minute. I have some information that I can put on this superhighway. And I'm a curious guy. I like to learn stuff. So I want to learn stuff, and I can learn it by going over to the superhighway and jumping on, right? And seeing what's out there. Turns out none of it is working out the way it was promised to us. What it is, hey, we're going to show you what look. I'm going to tell you something else about Instagram. Okay. When I used to go to it and look at it, it would show me, and I don't mean this to be gross, Chris, but here goes. It would show me women's crotches in yoga pants. Everything was a woman bending over into the camera. Everything was a woman sticking her crotch. I thought I'd become an amateur gynecologist. And I said to Serena one day, I said, Serena, all I want to look at is sports cars. I love horses. I like watching sports stuff like, people kayaking and rowing and the whole thing. And those are the only things I would click on. But for whatever reason, I'm a male, 62 years old. They think I want to see women in yoga pants around
Especially
the clock.
watching fitness stuff too. And
Yeah.
so that.
But the fitness stuff I'm watching, I'll tell you, I would watch the golden era bodybuilders because I want to remember what Frank Zane looked like. I want to remember what Franco Columbu looked like, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Bill Pearl, and all of them. They don't have yoga pants on, and they're dudes, right? The algorithm should say, oh, he's a 62-year-old gay man because he's looking at other men. But that's not what they send me. They send me women. And I'm not talking about 62-year-old women. Well, some of them are older, but they're sending young women, half naked, crotch in the camera. So Serena showed me how to get rid of it. I spent about 2 hours one day getting rid of it, saying, I never want to see this stuff again. I never want to see this. I never want to see that. Got rid of all of it, right? 2 hours. Within 3 days, it was all back again. So I went again, and I spent this time about an hour. I got rid of everything. I was faster, right? And then it just came back again. No matter what, something about the algorithm says, older dude, let's show him all the gynecological reports we could possibly show him without actually showing him a vagina. As a matter of fact, at some point, they started showing me naked breasts. Now, I have nothing against folks. I have nothing against any of this. But if I want to see that, I'm going to go look at a porn channel, right? And porn just isn't my thing, right? I got a real live woman right here in the house. I can see naked whenever I want, right? I'm not a prude. What I'm saying is, I don't want to see mommies breastfeeding on Instagram. Sorry. I know someone gets off on that, and that's how women have finally figured out, hey, I can show my tits on Instagram by breastfeeding, right? I don't know. Chris, you're looking at me weird. Do you know that that pops up, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the big controversy a few years ago because they were trying to crack down on it. And they said, what, you're weirded out by nipples, right? Which something I've never understood. And so they made an exemption to their nudity policy specifically to allow that, which then, of course, led to people not abusing it in any way and using fake babies to just whip things out.
Now, Chris, let's remember, they wanted to get rid of my private group because of the hate speech bacon fat. Yet here we are figuring out a way to show more nipples and more crotches on Instagram, period. Folks, let's take a quick break here. PureVitaminClub.com. PureVitaminClub.com. They're the best vitamins on the planet. Bottom line, I'm not saying this because I own the company. I'm not saying this because I started the company. I'm saying this because it's true. When I had cancer the first time, I went through and started looking at everything that went into my body, including my vitamins. And that's where I learned about things like excipients and flow agents, primarily things like titanium dioxide, which is only put in there to whitewash the vitamins so they can add another color in to make it a color that they think you want to see. And things like magnesium stearate, which blocks the absorption of exactly what you're taking to be absorbed. PureVitaminClub.com has none of that. Go to PureVitaminClub.com and get the best vitamins on the planet. Here's the other thing. I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, he's making top end, the best vitamins out there. They must be expensive. That's the second part of what I did. Folks, I grew up poor. And I used to see other people getting really cool things and going, if I had money, I would get those cool things too. I try to make the best vitamins at the best price also. So you get the best vitamins on the planet. It's like buying a Toyota. It's not as much as a Rolls Royce, but it runs better than a Rolls Royce, and it's going to last you a hell of a lot longer. That's what these vitamins are. The Toyota of vitamins, or the Honda, if you will. PureVitaminClub.com. Go there right now and get all of your vitamins. Chris, we're talking about how the internet screws people over, right?
Yeah.
Should we move on? Have we done that? What are we doing here?
We can. You mentioned something a minute ago that really grinds my gears. Vinny, you were talking about the information superhighway way back in the day. Do you remember the modem sound?
Beep, boop, boop, boop. Yeah.
So this is something for you kids who were born after the year 2000. You probably don't remember this sound, but you used to have to call the internet.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't just exist. It wasn't everywhere all the time. You couldn't use the phone and the internet at the same time. Like, I will never forget my mom yelling and screaming up the stairs because she was trying to call her mother or something and couldn't use the phone line. Right.
Right.
That that sound initially had a purpose when you were on like a 14.4 modem, right?
Right.
In the late 80s, early 90s. By the time most people had a like 28K or 56K modem, you didn't actually need that sound anymore because it was digital. It went from analog to digital. But they left the sound on there so that people would know it was doing something.
Right.
So what you're telling me is you made me listen to that for years because you thought I would be too bored waiting the 30 seconds for you to connect to the internet when it was still a new thing,
Well,
right? When it was like,
Chris, I remember I would turn my computer on, and while the warming up would go on, I'd go to the kitchen and grab a cup of coffee or something and come back. I knew exactly how much time I needed for it to all go away. And by the way, maybe you weren't born yet, not way too young. When I was at Tulane, I was grandfathered into not having to take computer science, right? And then right after my year that you had to take it. So a lot of people would take it. What you would have to do is call a number on the phone and stick the phone onto, when you had the phone you would hold up, you had to stick it onto like this rubber thing that connected through the sound of the phone.
yeah.
Right.
And that's where that sound came from.
Right.
Was the audible tones. And it's the same thing. Are you familiar with the term freakers?
No.
Man, you need to go watch some like 80s hacker movies, man. They found out that a lot of the long distance things operated on the same audible tones. So you remember touch tone phones?
Sure.
That was essentially what was going on there. It was making an audible tone. So when you pressed 9, the phone didn't know that you pressed 9, but it went or whatever the tone was.
Right.
And that was assigned to 9 on every phone around the entire world.
Right.
And so it then knew that was a 9. So hackers back in the day used that to make long distance calls, dial into the internet, places where they weren't allowed to, all of those kinds of things. But then by the time you're in the early 90s, the AOL floppy disks or CD-ROMs, you didn't actually need that sound anymore. They just left it there so that people would think it was doing something.
Yeah. No, I believe that because that happens a lot in life where they'll just go, oh, people are used to this, so we're just going to leave this here, right? When things aren't needed anymore.
They might not think it's working if we don't make the most annoying sound in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And by the way, like I said, I knew exactly how much time you would turn it on. You would call it letting your computer warm up. And you would go to the kitchen. In my case, I would grab a cup of coffee or do something, come back, and then there it is. It's ready to rock and roll. Right? The warming up of the computer. Now it's just instant on all the time.
Right? I got really upset the other day because I had to restart my computer and it logged me out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It took me maybe 10 minutes to log back in, but I was like, I'm so spoiled that like passwords are saved in like a password organizer. And I turned my computer on, it just automatically connected to the internet. And I don't even think about it anymore. And then I started thinking about AOL. I was like, all right, there are some advantages to technology as well, right? Like, let's not pretend that this is all a bad thing. But it also enables us to do stuff like this, right? To have conversations with people and take people from where they are to where they want to be.
I'm looking up someone right now. Okay. Do you remember there was a girl and she was just, she was a good looking woman. And I remember her from being around California, right? She was kind of ubiquitous around California. And she became known as the most downloaded person on the internet. Do you remember what her name was?
When was it?
It was like at the beginning of the internet. I'll tell you what her name was. Her name was Cindy Margolis.
Margolis. Yeah.
And she was known as, she was just a valley girl, right? She was one of those girls that, for the lack of anything else, she was just, there are a lot of girls around LA. They try for years to be models or actresses or sports models or whatever, and they end up usually they end up like in a couple of beer commercials, and sometimes like some of them don't even make it to Playboy Playmate, but they could be like the second girl that's naked in the magazine. Like there'll be a Playmate, but then there'll be, I don't know if Margolis was ever a Playmate, to be honest. I think she was like the second girl. She wasn't even good enough, I shouldn't say that, to be a Playmate, but she became the world's most downloaded one. And I'm like, how did they even figure that out? Right? Am I making any sense?
Yeah. Well, so you may remember back in the day, Vinny, websites used to have what they called a hit counter.
Yeah.
And that's probably what they were using. Ironically, it has nothing to do with the total number of people that visit the website. It has to do with how many times the server was called. So if you had a whole bunch of images on your website, let's say you had 10 images, every time someone came to that page, it's 10 hits, right? But that's how everybody evaluated web traffic in the early 90s or in the mid 90s. And then they moved to page visits and unique site sessions and some of those kinds of things after Google Analytics came out.
Right.
But everything was reliant on hits before that, which is essentially the amount of resources that you're using. So she had more people downloading her pictures, but then it looks like she got dethroned a year later by Danny Ash.
Which,
Book of World Records.
And who knows who that is. I'm looking at right here. Remember I said they do beer ads and then they do like lingerie? She's known for Reebok, Vidal Sassoon, Coors, which is beer, and Fredericks of Hollywood, which is lingerie. Yeah. And, just, I mean, look, pretty girl, right? But that, there are a lot of pretty girls. You know what I mean? Okay, yeah, she's a pretty girl. But for whatever reason, she hit some algorithm where the counter just kept showing her. It's kind of like now where they go, hey, Vinny, you need to see these girls in yoga pants, right? They keep throwing the current Cindy Margolis at guys like me, right? Saying, you need to look at this. And I'm sitting there going, I don't want to see that, right? I want to see something else. It's kind of
that just speaks volumes about the difference between your algorithm and my algorithm. My algorithm shows me things like the little story I brought with me today. Do you want to see the video that comes along with it, or do you just want to hear the story?
I want to hear the story.
So, our friends over at PETA, Vinny, just launched a new ad campaign.
Oh boy.
They're using humor, music, and animated poop to highlight the digestive perks of a plant-based diet and encourage veganism.
Chris, man, your sound is getting worse and worse. I'd love to know what's going on over there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just our connection, because my mic is showing stable levels, so I don't know.
I wonder if there's, let me unplug this, and maybe it's just my earplug. All right, try again.
What about now? Funk's over there.
Same
Get out now.
Yeah. Still bad, but go on.
So they are running a campaign called Good Shit, all about how being vegan is much better for your digestive health than any other way of eating.
Okay.
It is one of the most terrifying minutes of my life that I have ever seen.
Do I need to see this?
It's supposed to be funny. And I think what they did, well, You ran Squatty Potty ads,
Yeah.
right? So do you remember the big thing with Squatty Potty, what Squatty Potty is known for in the advertising space? Like the thing that made the Harmon brothers is the pooping unicorn from the Squatty Potty ad. That's
Yeah.
the thing that everybody remembers.
Yeah.
It's like they took that idea and they were like, hey, you remember what worked 20 years ago? Let's do that, but take a bunch of acid and make it animated, right? It is one of the weirdest advertising campaigns I have ever seen. And apparently they're thinking a bunch of money into it.
All right, you got to play it. I was going to say don't play it, but now I got to see it. So let's pull it up.
Let me bring it up here.
Because, you know, PETA is completely... Go on.
This is an actual ad, by the way.
Change your diet, dude. Being vegan is good shit.
Really?
Your tummy's happy, your digestion's a dream. Fiber's your friend. So smooth. You'll love those moments in the loop. Being vegan is good shit. It makes your booty dance and sing. It's a spitting affair. No time to spare. Being vegan is good shit. Do you feel the relief? You'll be more punctual than a
freakishly precise
Japanese train. Being vegan is good shit. We vegans poop so good. Our guts feel good. Okay. Your booty's
Okay. Did they say more punctual than a Japanese train, or did I make that part up in my own head?
Than a super well-engineered Japanese train or something like that. You'll be more punctual than a freakishly precise Japanese train.
Okay. Really? And by the way, I eat very little, I eat some vegetables every night. Most of my intake is eggs, dairy, red meat, fish, chicken, pork, sometimes wild meat. Did I mention eggs? I mentioned eggs, right? I'm as punctual as a German train.
So you're over-engineered? Is that what you're?
Oh yeah, you want to talk punctual? I mean, I have no problem. I'm never constipated, ever. If you said, Vin, when was the last time you were constipated? I would have to go, nothing I can remember in the past 5 years.
I can tell you.
Maybe 10 years. Go on.
The day after I had my gallbladder out because they put me on oxy. So 15 years ago?
Yeah.
That has never been a problem for me. And I understand that it's a problem for some people. But if you're... Not to make this an entire conversation about poop, that was more just to ingrain that video in your head because I saw it earlier. And
yeah, thanks.
Can't unsee it. Is that a thing? Like, I seem to remember vegans poop more.
Well, look, hang on. I can tell you this. There were times in my life where I tried to eat way more plants, juicing. I've been doing this my entire life. So obviously there are periods in my life where I've tried different things, where I've ate, a lot of rice, a lot of potatoes and all this, because it's supposed to, make me a superhuman aerobic athlete. And, all the stuff you hear, folks, if you think I'm a one-trick pony, oh, you want to raise your insulin so your body you could build more muscle. All the lies you hear. I've done it all. I used to take at one time, so many vegetables for a time being that I would just put them into my Vitamix blender, because the Vitamix is the strongest blender known to man, and just churn up. I would put beets in there. I would put carrots. I would put broccoli, cauliflower, all raw, add a little water, whiz it up and drink it down. I was drinking a bucket of pulp at a time. I was doing it all. I could tell you my shit did not look like the shit they were showing in this ad. You know, these nice little plump. What comes out when you eat like that, folks, for the lack of any other term, they were being gross, so hell, I'm going to be gross too. Is fucking hippo flop. Is what that's what your shit becomes. It becomes a greenish hippo flop unless you ate enough beets. Then you're going to have red and green hippo flop.
And hopefully you remember that you ate
as kind as I can. And when people go, oh, am I supposed to take, Metamucil, or should I take fiber? I say I should take fiber. If you want more hippo flop, knock yourself out.
Where does the fiber thing even come from? Do you know?
I don't. Well, from what I could tell, the whole taking non-soluble fiber, which would be like the Metamucil stuff, the psyllium husk, what you got to realize is psyllium comes from, it's the husk of wheat, right? It's the part you would throw away. So you look, as I tell everyone, you cannot walk off into a wheat field, take wheat and eat it off of the plant. Your stomach, you would have stomach distress. You would get diverticulitis. You can get infection. You can die. You cannot eat wheat that way. What you have to do is highly processed wheat. You have to take it from the husk. You need to get to the middle. And then when you get it home, you need to cook the ever-living fuck out of it. You got to cook it into submission to end up with something you can eat. Or you can grind it so fine and mix it with water and turn it into bread or pasta or what have you. Okay? The husk, they would have to throw away. Or, stick with me here, Chris, you can turn it into something that you can tell people they need, that you don't need. There is no, people go, well, shouldn't I have some fiber? There's no amount of fiber you need. I've lived for months on end trying different diets like carnivore, where all I ate was red meat, chicken, fish, and eggs. There's no fiber to be found in those foods. I never had 1 ounce of trouble going to the bathroom on any given day. My ass ran just like a Japanese train. Isn't that what they said in the ad? A Japanese. Are you
more
kidding
precise than a freakish, or more regular than a freakishly precise Japanese train?
Yeah.
Like, and this is another one of those myths that we hear all the time, right? That fiber is the thing that makes all of the difference.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me, because if you're not eating things that need to be pushed through your system more aggressively, then you don't need more fiber. Am I missing something there?
Not missing a thing.
Like, I don't get it. And if you are struggling with that issue, eat some more vegetables.
Well, if you're struggling, that's what people say to me. Go, don't, shouldn't I eat this and that? It's like, have more vegetables, right? Like, there was one time there was a group of women saying, Vinnie, my gynecologist, this and that, I need more carbohydrates. So I need to incorporate carbohydrates into my NSNG diet. I said, great. Eat broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, and Brussels sprouts. Well, what about bread? No, you just wanted a reason to eat something that you wanted to eat. You said you needed carbohydrates. I gave you some carbohydrates you might want to try, but those aren't the ones you wanted. You wanted permission to eat pie, and I'm not going to give you that permission. That's not what we're doing here.
Well, Vinnie, there's a lot of things that have fiber in it, right? Like, avocado is like 9 grams per avocado.
Mm-hmm.
Raspberries and blackberries are like 8 or 9 grams.
That's correct.
Per cup. I think passion fruit is ridiculous, but that's not something everybody has access to. I don't even remember what that is, but it's like 20 something. But like, that's not the thing that's going to make the difference. And if that's the argument that's being made now, we've fallen a long way from the top line of veganism. The thing that was most interesting to me with that, Vinnie, was that did not come directly from like a vegan cause necessarily. It came from PETA.
Right. Well, PETA and veganism are one and the same, because The only, you see, PETA, is the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, right? They're crazy. If people think I'm kidding, go to the PETA website. This is not me talking. It used to be on the front page, but now you got to dig a little bit because people like me made people aware of this. They don't believe that we should own animals, meaning if you have a dog or a cat, or pretty much a dog, because you let a cat out of the house, right? Cat can fend for itself. It'll become feral. If I let my dogs out of the house and just let them out on the street, there's no way they would make it 24 hours. They'd run right out in front of a car and get killed or, get hurt some other way. But according to PETA, we should not be enslaving these animals. Open your door, let them out, let them run free the way they're supposed to be. Can you imagine my dog Trixie doing that?
I'm thinking about my 2 3/4, right?
Yeah.
Owen, 75-pound dog, would do pretty well. Alaskan Malamute would do pretty well. The third one, 3 legs, small little dog. Everyone around here has like 15 German Shepherds. The very first thing all of them would eat?
That dog.
That dog.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm starting to think we need to get the jellyfish cannon out to use against PETA that the U.S. Navy used against Greenpeace back in the day when Greenpeace was trying to board naval vessels.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I understand that you have some common cause with veganism. Why do you make the world's weirdest ad to do? I mean, yes, we're talking about it, and maybe you believe that all publicity is good publicity, but also, I would not want to be vegan after seeing that ad, even if I thought it was a compelling message. Does that make sense?
Showing the guy sweating and then literally showing crap coming out of his ass. That's the way the ad starts, folks, in case you didn't see it. And then they get into some kind of weird racism with the Japanese thing. And
the Hello Kitty train.
Yeah, it's just all weird. But hey, that's PETA. They don't care. You see, it's one of those things. It's like, we don't care because, this is for the greater good, right? They don't care. They're PETA. They're going to do what they want to do. Let's make that the final word, Chris, because your mic is driving me nuts over there. Hopefully you can fix it before the VIP. We have VIP group tonight, folks. Well, you're hearing this next Wednesday, a week from today. We're recording this on the 15th. We have a VIP group. If you want to put your name into that, VinnieTortories.com/VIP. Put your name in. And next time we open it up, you guys can sign up for the VIP. What it is, it's a group. It's an accountability group. And we have people in the group talking to each other all the time. It's kind of like its own little AA of keeping yourself, accountable. And then I come on twice a month, the first of the month or thereabouts, and then around the 15th of the month. And we talk to people live and everyone else listens in. Anyone can come up and talk, make themselves available. And we do that until everyone, it's not an hour long. It's however long it needs to be. Sometimes we go 90 minutes, we've gone as long as 2 hours, but everyone loves the VIP group. So if you want to be in it the next time we open it up, it's VinnieTortories.com/VIP. Go check me out on X. Chris is also on X. So check me and Chris out on the X. And rate and review this podcast. And that's about it, right, Chris?
Yeah.
So on behalf of Chris Schaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do a little more of these guys.